Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So Season 10 has just started, with it came Brigitte into competitive play, and I do feel that we have like a completely fresh new game currently. Some heroes that you wouldn't expect to see normally were in full play during our placements, but it's not necessarily about what me and Miska think here. We actually wanted to do a video over what some of the pros, some of the community members, streamers, but also some members of Blizzard themselves have actually piped up to talk about Brigitte, the current balance of the game, if she was to be nerfed, what would they nerf? And also I do want to talk about Reinhardt because there's some hilarious clips, but it's also kind of unfortunate too. This is a video talking about what the community basically thinks of Season 10, the meta, Brigitte, all that sort of stuff, but I do want to hear your opinions as well, whether you like Brigitte, like playing her, whether you feel that the game is in the worst state it's ever been, or whether you like the change in compositions and meta. Do let us know in the comments below, and we'll start by talking straight away with Brigitte. We'll start with the tweet that came from Overwatch League analyst and ex-pro player Reinforce, where he said Overwatch went from an FPS MOBA to Diablo 3, Tier 9 Great Rift level 78 real fast. Of course, you know, referencing the fact that it's a very sort of scrappy close quarters battle now that Brigitte's in the game. I wanted to start with something light, as there has been some like pretty, I'd say, emotional responses from people. And I also wanted to highlight this clip from Shadows where he actually talks about Brigitte's viability in the highest tiers because he's on the pro scene.
I've played scrims, but from what I've seen, you need Brigitte in absolutely every single comp. So you absolutely never switch Brigitte. And also, you can have a triple support. Like honestly, from what I've seen, Brigitte is not a support hero. She's a support tank DPS all in one with the best of everything and no downsides and all the good stuff.
Finally, when it comes to looking at the more negative side, I feel ZP sums this up pretty well. I think the more concerning thing about Brigitte right now is very little to do with her actual balance, which is to be decided as any new hero is, but more so the reception of the hero so far. Perception of a hero potentially being overpowered / unfun often matters more than reality, and I feel that this is one of Brigitte's main problems. The issue that I have as well is that it's taken her so long to come into competitive, and she even still feels that she's going into competitive far too strong and far too overpowered. Now we will go over some ideas on how to nerf her in a second, but I just wanted to say, if you have the perception that Brigitte is going to ruin the game before you've even played one competitive match, she is going to ruin your games. That's not to sort of quell any problems in the game, there certainly is some, and Brigitte is far too strong. However, if you're looking towards competitive and expecting to have a bad time, you're going to have a bad time, is my point with that. Next up, I want to take a tweet from Fishsticks, who was one of the previous people that worked at Twitch and obviously did a lot of stuff in the Overwatch scene very early on, being an analyst and a caster. He posted this picture of like dive meta for 6 seasons, no end in sight, and Blizzard actually tries something major to shake things up. You know, you get the idea, you get the meme. But what was also interesting is Griffin Bennett, who used to be a community manager for Blizzard and for Overwatch, added on, "What if I told you that the imperfections of the game in each season keep the game fresh, new and interesting?" Griffin then went on to highlight a tweet that Fishsticks put out a while ago saying, "Remember when absolutely everyone was convinced that the new Sombra was game-breakingly OP, or that Moira could ruin the game, or that literally anything new is a goddamn disaster?" I do feel that Brigitte's impact on the game and the meta as a whole is gonna be more so than Sombra and Moira, but again, we don't necessarily know for sure. Now I want to highlight a tweet that comes from Overwatch League's Golden Boy and Houston Outlaw player Jake. "Diving on squishy healers has been the best strategy in Overwatch for over a year. Personally, I'm ready for a change. The best comps right now are just last patch plus swapping in the new hero. People won't really know what's best without a lot more competitive testing," meaning contenders in Overwatch League. But when you reference back the clip that we played with Shadows, it looks like Brigitte still is going to be strong there. So how do you balance Brigitte? Well, we actually have two ideas that came from Mangachu and Karq, and both are pretty good. Mangachu gave the idea of changing the max armor to 100 from her ult instead of 150 total that you can gain on top of your health, increasing the shield bash cooldown to 7 seconds, changing HP priority to HP, shield and then armor so you don't have to do a bunch of initial damage to poke away at the armor. What that means is if you have a Zarya, for example, you chunk away Zarya's shield health and then the armor that you give her and then her normal health, which is a big problem because it means that you never really tick away at Zarya's actual armor health if she has some. And then went on to say that 2 of these 3 is good enough. If people want the depleting armor, the ult needs to give 150. What do we mean by that? Well, we can actually go over Karq's example and he explains it there. Karq posted a bit more of a longer message, but he went on to say why stacking 150 armor is a problem. Because Brigitte's will rally before team fights, that everybody would gain the 150 armor armor and can start the next fight with a huge advantage. But most importantly, doing this allows Brigitte to earn ultimate charge during the next fight and build her rally while still being buffed by the previous one. And this makes it a really uphill battle. He went on to say that rally needs to be nerfed so that the armor ramps up and persists only as long as the ultimate is active, or it decays after using it, so it forces Brigitte to actually use it during a fight. Of course, most of you know at this point that rally gives you permanent armor, so if you don't take any damage, you don't lose it. And I think that's one of the biggest nerfs that I would give Brigitte currently. It's not really a nerf, it's just more of a tinkering thing that just gradually over time after she's used her ultimate, her armor does decay. It doesn't need to decay fast, but it needs to make sure that teams don't keep the armor that they gain through rally. It's just not fair. Maybe we'll talk about balancing Brigitte in another video. I didn't want to focus on it too much, but I did want to give some key community points onto realistically what could be done about Brigitte to make her less obnoxious. But finally, we'll go over the Reinhardt feels bad man moments disc 2. Obviously, there's the main one with Calvin, which you're seeing on screen of him just being knocked around. But I feel what's more important as well is Tim the Tapman tweeted this out saying that this is why he isn't playing Overwatch. Now think of what you will of these like variety streamers and personality streamers, but I really like Tim the Tapman and I watch him quite a bit, and you can see that when he plays Overwatch he doesn't enjoy it as much. He finds it just less of a hassle and then does switch over to Fortnite. And I think whatever these bigger streams do does affect Overwatch as a whole. If say XQC starts to do variety streaming, Overwatch and Twitch will take a huge drop. And there's also this moment from Jane I did want to point out that's quite funny. Him just being knocked around. I do think that Reinhardt needs a buff where when he has his shield up he's harder to knock around, he stays anchored to the ground, just doesn't get blasted around by concussive mines and all this shit. But let us know what you think of all of this. It's a bit more of a different video today, but I just wanted to give other people's opinions, what the community is saying, some really key points that have been made, and just address it to you. But I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.